So Palantir was at the center of some huge controversy a couple of years ago regarding some of the work with ICE, and obviously being a company that works in intelligence, there were some questions as to whether Palantir pushes the boundaries of the values that underscore democratic societies and human rights protection. What has Palantir done to address that, and can you give us some insight into how these companies are changing and adapting to really embody the values-based way in which we run societies and taking that in? I know I work very closely with your head of ethics, so just some insights and lessons that can be learned for other technological companies looking to work both commercial and
Palantir
military.
No easy questions here.
Oh, you know, I like the article. So Palantir, some of this, by the way, is inside baseball for America. I don't think anyone in Europe in any way would support the immigration policy that we have in America. I'm pro-immigration, but in reality of what we did with our product and what we continue to do with our product is it's used to deport people in America who are undocumented. This is largely not controversial outside of America. I think most people, I lived in Europe most of my life. So the ethical questions involving Palantir largely, in my view, come down to what does it mean to work with software in a civil society, and that comes down to who sees the data, under what conditions, can you conform with GDPR or ethical contribution, ethical strictures, legal normative components in America and globally. What's interesting about Palantir is there's only one platform I know of the world that actually conforms to these, and that's Palantir, which is why so much of Europe is powered by Palantir. And unfortunately in America, some of the critiques are just politicization. I'm very in favor of actual only buying software that conforms to the strictest norms, both because it's good for society and it's great for Palantir. And you see this in the countries that have adopted Palantir. But let me give you a slightly different riff on this. There's a famous quote from Wittgenstein, which is, Ein Regel folgen zu glauben ist kein Regel zu folgen, which is to say you're following a rule. I believe the most important thing Palantir is actually doing is not whether we should be used to deport undocumented people in America, most of which were in the context of where we were doing it involved in felonious behavior. I think that ends actually is more politicization than a real issue. I do think there are real issues around profiling and when do you use this software in a local jurisdictional context. We've walked away from building databases against Muslims and many other things. And there's some very, very legitimate issues that are concerning that are hard to answer in courts in a short form. But what does it mean in the West currently to use software? It means to defend your ideas. And why do I want to be here? Why are you here? Because the idea of sovereignty of a nation comes down to software heroism and an ability, which leads to the ability to push back on a larger, more powerful power. And the correlator of Wittgenstein is to believe an idea but not be willing to defend it, in my view, is not believing in it. Just like in the civil liberties context, to say you're pro-civil liberties but not take the time to understand what that means technically, by the way, I'm not saying that's what you're doing, is actually not to be on civil liberties. It's just to be red or blue factioned in America, when in fact civil liberties are a technical issue. To believe you believe in freedom, general flow of ideas, an ability to define what the border of your country is and not be willing to defend it, in my view, means you don't believe in the idea. And software, especially my company, Palantir, plays an enormous role in the defense of these ideas. And I'm very, very proud of that. And I think on the civil liberties debate thing, what I hope we move past red-blue civil liberties, neither of which are right. I've historically been progressive. I believe mostly what people want in the civil liberties community is right, although a certain percentage of them, it's not about that, it's about who you voted for. And I think that's a really bad way to do civil liberties. And we're now basically in a different context, and you're going to find people like me where civil libertarians have been skeptical. I want to defend the civil liberties primarily by making sure the countries that are actually pro-civil liberties win by espousing the values we believe in. By the way, again, on the battlefield, Not just in like protecting data, making sure people aren't profiled in America, conforming with GDPR in Europe, but on the actual battlefield where these things are often decided. The ability to segment data, to control who sees what, to purge data, to make sure only the people on your side in the specialized components see the data, i.e. exactly what you need in GDPR, is exactly what wins the battle, while actually being able to control your positions, understand the adversary, and disrupt their information flow. And it's the ability to win on that battlefield that actually makes sure you don't have wars, that the values we believe in actually turn out to be the winning values, that the best people are involved in these values. And that's why these conferences in Poland and why Poland and Ukraine are so important, not just to the people of Poland, Ukraine, and in Eastern Europe, but to all of us. And why civil liberties are actually crucial to what we've done. Of course, there's always what you do and whether people believe you. When you're supplying, I think we're the largest supplier of software, pure software in the world by a lot. And so people often wonder, well, if you're doing that and you're supporting clandestine services and police departments, how can you actually be pro-civil liberties? But what I would say in a longer format is that's exactly why you're pro-civil liberties. The most important thing you can do if you're in the military or in military operations now, though, is make sure that these very legitimate questions are actually being answered technically. If they're not being answered technically, like does the software work? Work also includes data protection. It also includes data management. It includes does the AI actually add real value? You are going to you'll spend a lot of resources and essentially get nothing. So essentially, long story short, the winners in industry and in government are people who can actually interact with technology, a new kind of technology effectively. And it is new, it takes a lot of effort, and one of the most important things you can do, whether you're industry or in government, is depoliticize that. It must be depoliticized. You must actually implement what works, or you will lose. You build software that you need for a war environment. That software better work. And then you figure out ways to use it commercially. You build on things that actually work, not on PowerPoints supported by your government that are largely supporting consultants that have never built a tech company. And this is very much linked to how you attract the best talent. This question, this is exactly the kind of question you have to answer internally. What is your software going to do? How is it going to create value where value is not just killing the adversary, but protecting your norms? And if you want to have the best of the best of the best, you have a talent spotter, which is part of what I did for, and am doing. And I go to the places where people undervalue the talent. That's like, I know the talent in Poland in this region is better than other people for lots of reasons. I go there, I spot the talent, I recruit them. And how do you keep them? You keep them by saying, hey, these are very tough questions. A normal company could never solve these questions. In our environment, they're going to be solved in a depoliticized way, which is very appealing, by the way, especially in America, because people are really tired of politicization. We can't get our politicians to stop it because it's so effective, and you can't explain why the country doesn't work, but you can explain why you hate your neighbor. And it works in Poland and here because you guys are never going to be into that stuff. That just doesn't make any sense to you. You might pretend you're okay with it because you have a great alliance with us in America. No Polish person buys into that. And you come and you work in a depoliticized environment on the most important issues.